Welcome to Global Bible Reading. The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 6. David again gathered all the best soldiers in Israel. There were 30,000 men. Then David and all his men went to Bala in Judah. They took God's holy box from Bala in Judah and moved it to Jerusalem. People go to the holy box to worship the Lord. The holy box is like the Lord's throne. There are statues of cherub angels on top of the holy box, and the Lord sits as king on these angels. David's men brought the holy box out of Abinadab's house on the hill. Then they put God's holy box on a new wagon. Uzziah and Ahiah, sons of Abinadab, were driving the new wagon. So they carried the holy box out of Abinadab's house on the hill. Uzziah was on the wagon with God's holy box, and Ahiah was walking in front of the holy box. David and all the Israelites were dancing in front of the Lord and playing all kinds of musical instruments. There were lyres, harps, drums, rattles, instruments made from cypress wood, and cymbals. When David's men came to the threshing floor of Nacon, the cows stumbled, and God's holy box began to fall off the wagon. Uzziah caught the holy box, but the Lord was angry at Uzziah and killed him. Uzziah saw he did not honor God when he touched the holy box. Uzziah died there by God's holy box. David was upset because the Lord had killed Uzziah. David called that place Perez Uzziah. That place is still called Perez Uzziah today. David became afraid of the Lord that day. David said, "How can I bring God's holy box here now?" So David would not move the Lord's holy box into the city of David. David put the holy box at the house of Obed-Edom from Gad. David carried the holy box off the road to the house of Obed-Edom at Gad. The Lord's holy box stayed in Obed-Edom's house for 3 months. The Lord blessed Obed-Edom and all his family. Later, people told David, "The Lord has blessed the family of Obed-Edom and everything he owns, because God's holy box is there." So David went and brought God's holy box from Obed-Edom's house. David was very happy and excited. When the man that carried the Lord's holy box had walked 6 steps, they stopped, and David sacrificed a bull and a fat calf. David was dancing in front of the Lord. David was wearing a linen ephod. David and all the Israelites were excited. They shouted and blew the trumpet as they brought the Lord's holy box into the city. Saul's daughter Michal was looking out the windows while the Lord's holy box was being carried into the city. David was jumping and dancing before the Lord. Michal saw this, and she was upset at David. She thought he was making a fool of himself. David put up a tent for the holy box. The Israelites put the Lord's holy box in its place under the tent. Then David offered burnt offerings and fellowship offerings before the Lord. After David had finished offering the burnt offerings and the fellowship offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord all-powerful. David also gave a share of bread and raisin cake and some dead bread to every man and woman of Israel. Then all the people went home. David went back to bless his house, But Saul's daughter Michal came out to meet him. Michal said, "The king of Israel did not honor himself today. You took off your clothes in front of your servants' girls. You were like a fool who take off his clothes without shame." Then David said to Michal, "The Lord chose me, not your father or any person from his family. The Lord chose me to be leader of his people, the Israelites. So I will continue dancing and celebrating in front of the Lord. I might do things that are even more embarrassing. Maybe you wouldn't respect me. But the girls you are talking about are proud of me." Saul's daughter Michal never had a child. She died without having any children. Chapter 7. After King David moved into his new house, the Lord gave him peace from all of his enemies around him. King David said to Nathan the prophet, "Look, I am living in a fancy house made of cedar wood, but God's holy box is still kept in a tent. We should build a nice building for the holy box." Nathan said to the King David, "Do whatever you want to do. The Lord will be with you." But that night the Lord's word came to Nathan. The Lord said, "Go and tell my servant David, this is what the Lord says. You are not the person to build a house for me to live in. I did not live in a house at the time I took the Israelites out of Egypt. No, I traveled around in a tent. I used the tent for my home. I never told any of the family groups of Israel to build me a fancy house made from cedar wood. You must say this to my servant David. This is what the Lord all-powerful says. I chose you while you were out in the pasture following the sheep. I took you from the job and made you the leader of my people, the Israelites. I have been with you every place you went. I have defeated your enemies for you. I will make you one of the most famous people on earth. And I choose a place for my people, the Israelites. I planted the Israelites. I gave them their own place to live. I did that so they will not have to move from place to place anymore. In the past, I sent judges to lead my people of Israel, but evil people gave them many troubles. That will not happen now. I am giving you peace from all of your enemies. I promise that I will make your family a family of kings. When your life is finished, you will die and be buried with your ancestors. But then I will make one of your own children become the king. He will build a house for my name, and I will make his kingdom strong forever. I will be his father, and he will be my son. When he sins, I will use other people to punish him. They will be my whips. But I will never stop loving him. I will continue to be loyal to him. I took away my love and kindness from Saul. I pushed Saul away when I turned to you. I will not do that to your family. Your family of kings will continue. You can depend on that for you. Your kingdom will continue forever. Your throne will stand forever." Nathan told David about that vision. He told David everything God had said. Then King David went in and sat in front of the Lord. David said, Lord my master, why am I so important to you? Why is my family important? Why have you made me so important? I am nothing but a servant, and you have been so kind to me. But you have also said these kind things about my future family. Lord, my master, you don't always talk like this to people, do you? How can I continue talking to you, Lord, my master? You know that I am only a servant. You will do all these wonderful things because you said you would do them and because you want to do them. And you decided to let me know about all these things. Lord, my master, that is why you are so great. There is no one like you. There is no God except you. We know that because of what we ourselves have heard about the things you did. And there is no nation on earth like your people, the people of Israel. They are a special people. They were slaves, but you took them out of Egypt and made them free. You made them your people. You did great and wonderful things for the Israelites. You did wonderful things for your land. You made the people of Israel your very own people forever. And Lord, you become their God. Now, Lord God, you promise to do things for me, your servant, and for my family. Now, please do the things you promise. Make my family a family of kings forever. Then your name will be honored forever. People will say, The Lord God all-powerful rules Israel. And may the family of your servant David continue to be strong in serving you. You, Lord all-powerful, the God of Israel, have been shown things to me. You said, I will make your family great. That is why I, your servant, decided to pray this prayer to you. Lord, my master, you are God, and I can trust the things you say. And you say that these good things will happen to me. Your servant, now please bless my family. Let them stand before you and serve you forever. Lord, my master, you yourself said these things. You yourself bless my family with a blessing that will continue forever. Chapter 8. Later, David defeated the Philistines. The Philistines' capital city and controlled a large area of land. David took control of that land. David also defeated the people of Moab, and that time he forced them to lie on the ground. Then he used a rope of separate them into rows. 2 rows of men were killed, but the whole third row was allowed to live. In that way, the people of Moab became servants of David. He paid tribute to him. Hadadezer, the son of Rehob, was king of Zobah. David defeated Hadadezer when David went to take control of the area near the Euphrates River. David took 1,700 horse soldiers and 20,000 foot soldiers from Hadadezer. David crippled all but 100 of them chariot horses. He saved those 100 horses. Arameans from Damascus came to help Hadadezer, king of Zobah, but David defeated those 22,000 Arameans. Then David put groups of soldiers in Damascus, Aram. The Arameans became David's servants and brought tribute. The Lord gave victory to David in every place he went. David took the gold shields that had belonged to Hadadezer's servant. David took those shields and brought to them to Jerusalem. David also took many things made of bronze from Tebah and Berothai. Tebah and Berothai were cities that had belonged to Hadadezer. Toi, king of Hamath, heard that David had defeated Hadadezer's whole army. So Toi sent his son Joram to King David. Joram greeted David and blessed him because David had fought against Hadadezer and defeated him. Hadadezer had fought wars against Toi before. Joram brought things made of silver, gold, bronze. David took these things and dedicated them to the Lord. He put them with the other things that he dedicated to the Lord. David had taken those things from the nations that he had defeated. David defeated Aram, Moab, Ammon, Philistia, and Amalek. David also defeated Hadadezer's son of Rehob, king of Zobah. David defeated 18,000 Arameans in Salt Valley. He was famous when he came home. David put groups of soldiers in Edom. He put these groups of soldiers through all the land of Edom. All the people of Edom became servants of David. The Lord gave victory to David every place he went. David ruled over all of Israel, and David made good and fair decisions for all of his people. Joab, son of Zeruiah, was the captain over the army. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was the historian. Zadok, son of Ahitub, and Abimelech, son of Abiathar, were priests. Shariah was secretary. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was in charge of the Kerethites and Pelethites, and David's sons were important leaders. Chapter 9. David asked, "Is there any person still left in Saul's family? I want to show kindness to this person. I want to do it for Jonathan." There was a servant named Ziba from Saul's family. David's servants called Ziba to David. King David said to Ziba, "Are you Ziba?" Ziba said, "Yes, I am your servant Ziba." The king said, "Is there any person left in Saul's family? I want to show God's kindness to this person." Ziba said to King David, "Jonathan has a son still living. He is crippled in both feet." The king said to Ziba, "Where is this son?" Ziba said to the king, "He is at the house of Machir, son of Amiel, in the Lo-debar." Then King David sent some of his officers to Lo-debar to bring Jonathan's son from the house of Machir, son of Amiel. Jonathan's son Mephibosheth came to David and bowed with his face low to the floor. David said, "Mephibosheth." Mephibosheth said, "Yes, sir. It is I, your servant, Mephibosheth." David said to Mephibosheth, "Don't be afraid. I will be kind to you. I will do this because of Father Jonathan. I will give back to you all of the land of your grandfather Saul, and you will always be able to eat at my table." Mephibosheth bowed to David again. Mephibosheth said, "I am no better than a dead dog, but you are being very kind to me." Then King David called Saul's servant Ziba. David said to Ziba, "I have given Saul's family and everything he owns to your master's grandson Mephibosheth. You will farm the land for Mephibosheth. Your sons and servants will do this for Mephibosheth. You will harvest crops. Then your master's grandson, Mephibosheth, will have plenty of food to eat. But Mephibosheth, your master's grandson, will always be able to eat at my table. Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Ziba said to King David, I am your servant. I will do everything that my lord the king commands. So Mephibosheth ate at David's table like one of the king's sons. Mephibosheth had a young son named Micah. All the people in Ziba's family become Mephibosheth's servants. Mephibosheth was crippled in both feet. Mephibosheth lived in Jerusalem. Every day Mephibosheth ate at the king's table. Later Nahash, king of the Ammonites, died. His son Hanun became the new king after him. David said, Nahash was kind to me, so I will be kind to his son Hanun. So David sent his officers to comfort Hanun about his father's death. So David's officers went to the land of the Ammonites. But the Ammonites' leaders said to Hanun their lord, Do you think that David is trying to honor your father by sending some men to comfort you? No, David sent these men to secretly study and learn things about your city. They plan to make war against you. So Hanun took David's officers and shaved off one half of their beards. He cut their clothes in the middle down to their hips. Then he sent them away. When the people told David, he sent messengers to meet his officers. He did this because these men were very ashamed. King David said, Wait at Jericho until your beards grow again. Then come back to Jerusalem. The Ammonites saw that they had become David's enemies. So the Ammonites hired Arameans from Beth Rehob and Zebah. There were 20,000 Aramean foot soldiers. The Ammonites also hired the king of Moab with 1,000 men and 12,000 men from Tob. David heard about this, so he set Joab and the whole army of powerful men. The Ammonites came out and got ready for the battle. They stood at the city gate. The Arameans from Jabab and Rehob and the men from Tob and Makkah did not stand together with the Ammonites in the field. Joab saw that there were enemies in front of him and behind him. So Joab chose some of the best Israelite soldiers and lined them up for battle against the Arameans. Then Joab gave the other men to his brother Abishai to lead against the Ammonites. Joab said to Abishai, If the Arameans are too strong for me, you will help me. If the Ammonites are too strong for you, I will come and help you. Be strong and let us fight bravely for our people and for the cities of our God. The Lord will do what he decides is right. Then Joab and his men attacked the Arameans. The Arameans ran away from Joab and his men. The Ammonites saw that the Arameans were running away, so they ran away from Abishai and went back to their city. So Joab came back from the battle with the Ammonites and went back to Jerusalem. The Arameans saw that the Israelites had defeated them, so they came together into one big army. Hadadezer sent messengers to bring the Arameans that lived on the other side of the Euphrates River. These Arameans came to Halam. Their leader was Sobak, the captain of Hadadezer's army. David heard about this, so he gathered all of the Israelites together. They crossed over the Jordan River and went to Halam. There the Arameans prepared for the battle and attack. But David defeated the Arameans, and the Arameans ran away from the Israelites. David killed 700 chariot drivers and 40,000 horse soldiers. David also killed Sobak and the captain of the Aramean army, the kings that served Hadadezer, so that the Israelites had defeated them. So they made peace with the Israelites and become their servants. The Arameans were afraid to help the Ammonites again. Chapter 11. In the spring, at a time when kings go out to war, David sent Joab his officers and all of the Israelites out to destroy the Ammonites. Joab's army also attacked their capital city, Rabbah, but David stayed in Jerusalem. In the evening he got up from his bed. He walked around on the roof of the king's house. While David was on the roof, he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful. So David sent for his officers and asked them who the woman was. An officer answered, "The woman is Bathsheba, daughter of Eliam. She is the wife of Uriah the Hittite." David sent messengers to go and bring Bathsheba to him. When she came to David, he had sexual relations with her. She washed herself and then went back to her house. But Bathsheba became pregnant. She sent word to David. She told him, "I am pregnant." David sent a message to Joab, "Send Uriah the Hittite to me." So Joab sent Uriah to David. Uriah came to David. David talked with Uriah. David asked Uriah how Joab was, how the soldiers were, and how the war was. Then David said to Uriah, "Go home and rest." Uriah left the king's house. The king also sent a gift to Uriah, but Uriah did not go home. Uriah slept outside the door of the king's house. He slept there like all the king's servants did. The servants told David, Uriah did not go home. Then David said to Uriah, "You came from a long trip. Why did you not go home?" Uriah said to David, "The holy box and the soldiers of Israel and Judah are staying in tents. My lord Joab and my lord King David's officers are camping out in the field. So it is not right for me to go home to drink and sleep with my wife." David said to Uriah, "Stay here today. Tomorrow I will send you back to the battle." Uriah stayed in Jerusalem that day. He stayed until the next morning. Then David called Uriah to come and see him. Uriah ate and drank with David. David made Uriah drunk, but Uriah still did not go home. That evening Uriah went to sleep with the king's servants outside the king's door. The next morning David wrote a letter to Joab. David made Uriah carry the letter. In the letter David wrote, "Put Uriah on the front lines where the fighting is the hardest. Then leave him there alone and let him be killed in battle." Joab watched the city and saw where the harvest Ammonites were. He chose Uriah to go to that place. The men of the city came out to fight against Joab. Some of David's men were killed. Uriah the Hittite was one of those men. Then Joab sent a report to David about what happened in the battle. Joab told the messenger to tell King David what happened in the battle. Maybe the king will become upset. Maybe the king will ask, why did Joab's army go that close the city to fight? Surely he knows that there are men on the city walls who can shoot arrows down at his men. Surely he remembers that a woman killed Abimelech, son of Jerub, Besat. It was at Tabaz. The woman was on the city wall and threw the top part of a grinding stone down on Amalek. So why did he go that close to the wall? If King David says something like that, then you must tell him this message. Your officer Uriah the Hittite also died. The messengers went in and told David everything Joab told him to say. The messenger told David, the men of Ammon attacked us in the field. He fought them and chased them all the way to the city gate. Then the men on the city walls shot arrows at your officers. Some of your officers were killed. Your officers Uriah the Hittite also died. David said to the messenger, give this message to Joab. Don't be too upset about this. A sword can kill one person as well as the next. Make a stronger attack against the Rabbah, and you will win. Encourage Joab with these words. Bathsheba heard that her husband Uriah was dead. Then she cried for her husband. After she had finished her time of sadness, David sent servants to take her to his house. She became David's wife and gave birth to a son for David. But the Lord did not like the bad thing David had done.